At that moment, Wajdan fell silent in response to her impassioned plea. Was she truly content with his proposal? As the words sunk in, an even deeper anger welled up inside him. Papa, I don't have the stamina to handle two girls at once, he thought bitterly. How could he possibly shoulder the responsibility when, in his mind, what would become of Anaya's mother, who, after all, was still very much a child herself? Even Mir Hassan, trying desperately to stifle his own laughter, couldn't keep from letting out a low chuckle, while Ghazala managed only a subdued, wry smile. Yet the discussion was far from over. The intensity in the room grew as voices began to rise. I simply cannot be expected to care for two little ones simultaneously, Wajdan insisted, his tone edged with both exasperation and sorrow. If I agree to this union, what future will my Anaya have? Who will be her guiding mother if not me? His words struck a chord in the hearts of all present, and for a brief moment, silence reigned while everyone pondered the gravity of his predicament. Mir Hassan, his eyes glistening with both amusement and sympathy, patted his son's shoulder. Son, you know very well that our family has always shared its burdens. We all will help you. You're not alone in this responsibility. Even Ghazala, with her soft smile, seemed to acknowledge that family means shouldering even the most overwhelming challenges together. Yet deep within, Wajdan's inner turmoil only intensified. The thought that the woman he had agreed to marry, this fiercely determined, unyielding soul, might eventually become the very person who raised his beloved daughter gnawed at him relentlessly. Before anyone could speak further, the conversation was abruptly interrupted by a sudden commotion at the main entrance. Footsteps echoed, and voices from the corridor grew louder. In a moment of unexpected drama, a car pulled up outside, and the heavy thud of its door being opened signaled the arrival of someone unannounced. All eyes darted toward the door as, without hesitation, a young woman in stylish Western attire burst into the foyer. Her confident stride and determined gaze brought the room to an immediate standstill. Wajdan Hassan, she called out, her voice ringing with authority. Did you really think you could snatch your own daughter away from me, and that I'd just stand by silently? Shock rippled through the gathering as the newcomer's words cut through the charged atmosphere. Wajdan's face drained of color, and a look of utter disbelief took hold of him. Who gave you permission to enter? He demanded, his tone a mix of fury and confusion. Where are the guards? The woman's eyes narrowed, and with a cool yet biting tone she retorted, there is no need for shouting. I came prepared, with both a lawyer and the police. At that very instant, a poised lady attorney stepped forward and, holding a set of official documents, declared in a measured voice, according to these court orders, you must immediately surrender custody of Anaya Zahid to Miss Farwa. I expect your full cooperation. A heavy silence descended upon the room as everyone tried to process the shocking pronouncement. Mir Hassan's eyes locked onto Wajdan, demanding, but you told us that Anaya's mother had passed away. His voice was thick with disbelief and hurt. Farwa, her eyes sparkling with a mix of triumph and grim determination, countered, Wajdan, you know as well as I do that circumstances have changed. My daughter is very much alive, and I have legal rights over her. Now, please, hand over your daughter. Before Wajdan could muster a response, Haya stepped forward protectively, wrapping her arms around Anaya as if to shield her from this intrusion. How can you even think of taking her? She cried, her voice trembling with both fear and fury. She is my daughter in every way that matters. Do not lay a finger on her. Wajdan struggled to rein in his emotions. Haya, please calm down, he pleaded, though his own voice wavered with anguish. This is not the time for further discord. We must handle this matter with care. Yet his inner conflict was plain for all to see. He was torn between the bonds of blood and the legal, painful truths that now confronted him. As the tension in the room mounted, Farwa's lips curled into a disdainful sneer. You claim to love her, but you've hidden the truth for far too long. The court has decreed that her custody now lies with me, her real mother. Her statement was delivered with such icy certainty that even the most stubborn hearts in the room began to question everything they believed. Haya's eyes filled with tears as she clutched Anaya tighter, her voice barely a whisper. "My little one, please, don't let them take you away." Her desperate plea echoed in the silent room. Wajdin's features hardened, and though his eyes betrayed the turmoil within, his tone became resolute. "I cannot allow this to happen. Anaya is all I have. I will fight for her, no matter what it takes." A heated debate ensued. Mir Hassan's voice rose in indignation as he demanded, "What is the meaning of all this? You swore that your wife had died. How can this be?" His words were met with a mixture of gasps and murmurs from the assembled family members. Wajdin's mind raced with conflicting emotions, loyalty, duty, and a profound sense of betrayal that threatened to shatter him completely. Amid the chaos, Haya's eyes flashed with determination. "Wajdin, I know you're hurting, but listen to me," she implored softly, yet firmly. "I may not be her biological mother, but I have always loved Anaya as if she were my own. I promise you, I will protect her with everything I have. Do not let anyone, no one, tear us apart." Wajdin's heart pounded painfully in his chest as he searched Haya's face, seeking reassurance. In that moment, the reality of the situation crystallized. The woman before him, so full of fiery passion and unyielding resolve, was willing to risk everything for the sake of this little girl. And perhaps, deep down, that was a truth he could not ignore. "Very well," he finally said in a strained whisper. "If the court insists, I will not stand in your way. But know this, I will do everything in my power to bring Anaya back to where she belongs." His voice, though low, carried the weight of a man who was prepared to defy fate itself. The tension was momentarily broken when a soft, trembling voice from behind interrupted the heated exchange. Anaya, her eyes wide with confusion and fear, whispered, "Papa, Mama, I don't understand. Why are you fighting?" The innocent query sliced through the hostility like a knife, and for an instant, every bickering voice in the room fell silent. All eyes turned to the little girl, whose tear-streaked face mirrored the collective sorrow of a fractured family. Wajdin knelt beside her, gathering her into his arms with a tenderness that belied his inner storm. "My darling, it's all going to be all right. I promise I'll keep you safe, no matter what," he murmured, stroking her hair gently as if trying to mend the pieces of his own broken heart. But before comfort could settle, a sudden, jarring buzz from Wajdin's cell phone shattered the fragile calm. He glanced at the screen, and his face turned ashen. "It's Jalil," he said, his voice barely audible. "There's been an incident. I must leave immediately." His tone was laced with urgency and regret, and as he rose to gather his things, the gravity of the situation deepened. "Where are you going?" Mir Hassan demanded, concern finally eclipsing anger. "What happened?" Wajdin hesitated, his eyes darting between Farwa and Haya, and then he replied, "There's been a terrible accident. I need to rush to the hospital. Anaya might be in danger." The words sent shockwaves through the room, and a collective gasp followed as the family braced for the worst. Without further ado, Wajdin swept Anaya into his arms and dashed out of the house. Haya followed closely behind, her eyes red from crying and determination etched across her face. They piled into his car in near silence, every second heavy with unspoken fears. As the vehicle sped away, the family was left behind in a haze of confusion and sorrow, each person praying silently for the safety of the little girl who meant so much to them all. The drive to the hospital was a blur of anxious glances and hurried whispers. In the car, Wajdin's mind raced as he tried to piece together the puzzle. Had Farwa's unexpected arrival been a ruse? Was there more to the court order than met the eye? And above all, was Anaya truly safe? Every bump in the road only magnified his dread, and the familiar landscape outside the window offered little comfort. Upon reaching the hospital, a modest facility on the outskirts of town, Wajdin immediately called out for the emergency team. Nurses and doctors converged around them as he rushed Anaya inside. Haya trailed behind, her heart pounding in time with her rapid footsteps. In the sterile, white corridors of the emergency room, time seemed to slow to a crawl. The beeping of monitors and the hushed urgency of the medical staff were a stark counterpoint to the chaos that had preceded their arrival. A doctor with a grave expression approached Wajdan and spoke in a tone that brooked no argument. "Your daughter has been administered a high dose of chloroform. We're not entirely sure how long it will take for her to regain consciousness." His words, though clinical, struck Wajdan like a physical blow. He clenched his fists, struggling to keep his composure, while Haya's eyes filled with tears of fear and desperation. "Please, do everything you can to help her," Wajdan pleaded, his voice trembling as he cradled Anaya close. "She's all I have. I cannot lose her." The doctor offered a reassuring nod before hurrying away with his team to attend to Anaya. For what felt like an eternity, Wajdan and Haya waited in the cold, sterile waiting room, the silence punctuated only by the distant hum of machinery. Minutes turned into hours as the two sat side by side, their minds churning with worry. Haya's hand trembled as she reached out to squeeze Wajdan's arm, silently conveying her shared fear. "She's so brave," she whispered, more to herself than to him, as if repeating the words would somehow shield her from the overwhelming pain of uncertainty. At last, a nurse emerged from behind a heavy door, her face lined with concern. "The doctor will see you now," she announced softly. Wajdan followed her through a labyrinth of corridors until they reached a private consultation room. There, the attending physician sat with a clipboard in hand, his expression grave yet sympathetic. "Wajdan," he began, "we've managed to stabilize her condition, but she remains in critical care. Her brain function is still suppressed, and we're working against the clock to ensure that she recovers fully. We believe the chloroform dose was higher than anticipated." The doctor's words were measured, yet each syllable felt like a hammer blow. Wajdan's throat tightened, and he struggled to speak. "Is there anything at all we can do?" he asked, desperation seeping into his voice. The doctor shook his head slowly. "Right now, we're doing everything possible, but the situation is delicate. I can't guarantee a full recovery, though I remain hopeful." Outside the consultation room, Haya paced the corridor. Every moment stretched out interminably as she replayed the events in her mind. How had everything spiraled so far out of control? One moment, the family was gathered in a warm, albeit tense, reunion. The next, the fragile future of the little girl they all loved hung in the balance. Tears welled in her eyes as she tried to summon the strength to face what might come. When Wajdan finally emerged from the consultation room, his face was a mask of stoic determination mixed with sorrow. He sought out Haya in the crowded corridor, and in a voice thick with emotion he murmured, "She's stable for now. The doctors are doing everything they can, but I need you to be strong for her. For all of us." Haya nodded silently, her own tears falling freely as she reached out and embraced him. In that quiet moment, amid the other hand, maintained a steely facade as she reiterated her legal rights, her tone as measured as it was cold. After hours of deliberation, the judge's verdict was delivered. In light of the new evidence, the judge declared, "The court finds that the custody of Anaya Zahid shall remain with her father until further review." A subsequent hearing will be scheduled to determine a final, permanent arrangement. The announcement sent a wave of relief through the courtroom. Wajdan's eyes glistened with unshed tears as he murmured a quiet "thank you" under his breath, while Haya squeezed his hand in solidarity. Back at home, the news was met with a mixture of joy and cautious optimism. Mir Hassan embraced Wajdan warmly, whispering, "You did it, my son. You fought for your daughter and won. Now, let us move forward as a family united." Ghazala nodded, her eyes alight with pride, as she gently patted Anaya's head. The atmosphere was one of subdued celebration, a recognition that while wounds might never fully heal, hope had begun to bloom anew. In the days that followed the court ruling, the family slowly began to rebuild their lives around Anaya. Haya's initial resistance to the tumultuous events had given way to a profound understanding of what it meant to truly love and protect another soul. Late one evening, As the household lay quiet under a starlit sky, Hea found herself alone with Wajdan on the back porch. The air was cool and filled with the gentle chirping of crickets, a stark contrast to the storm of emotions that had recently raged within their home. "Wajdan," she said softly, "I know this has been incredibly hard on you. I know I may not be the one you expected to share your life with, but I want you to know that I am here wholeheartedly to support you and Anaya. No matter what the future holds, I will stand by your side." Her voice trembled slightly with emotion, and for a long moment, neither spoke as they simply looked out at the peaceful night. Wajdan's gaze softened as he turned toward her. "Hea, I have learned more in these past few weeks than I ever thought possible. I have seen the true meaning of family, of sacrifice, of love, and of the strength that comes from unity. I promise you, from this day forward, I will do everything in my power to honor that promise. Anaya will grow up knowing that she is cherished, and you will always have my heart." His words were spoken with such earnestness that they seemed to seal a new beginning for them both. As the seasons slowly turned, the family's journey toward healing continued. Anaya, once a fragile spark of hope in the midst of chaos, began to blossom into a vibrant child whose laughter filled the home. Every milestone, her first steps, her hesitant words, the sparkle in her eyes as she played, became a testament to the resilience of love and the power of forgiveness. Family gatherings, once marked by tension and regret, transformed into celebrations of life and the triumph of the human spirit. One crisp winter afternoon, when the world outside was blanketed in soft snow, the family gathered for a small celebration at home. The dining room was adorned with twinkling lights and festive decor, and the aroma of spiced delicacies wafted through the air. Mir Hassan, ever the gracious patriarch, raised a toast. "To new beginnings," he declared, "and to the love that binds us together no matter the hardships we face. May Anaya always know that she is surrounded by a family that will never falter in its devotion." The room erupted in gentle cheers, and in that moment, even Wajdan felt the heaviness of the past begin to lift. Hea, sitting beside him, rested her head on his shoulder. Their eyes met, and in that silent exchange, they both knew that while their journey had been marred by pain and loss, it had also paved the way for a future defined by hope, healing, and an unbreakable bond. In time, the legal battle with Farwa dwindled into a distant memory, a chapter that had tested the very limits of their endurance. Farwa herself, having seen her plans unravel in the face of undeniable truth, receded quietly from the forefront of their lives. Though the scars of betrayal would never fully vanish, the family learned to live with them as a reminder of the price of honesty and the power of redemption. As the years passed, Anaya grew into a spirited young woman, her personality a blend of the innocence of childhood and the strength born of overcoming adversity. Wajdan, now wiser and tempered by hardship, continued to work tirelessly to provide her with every opportunity. He often recalled the tumultuous days with a bittersweet mixture of regret and gratitude. Regret for the pain they had endured, and gratitude for the unity that had emerged from the darkness. On one quiet spring evening, when the blossoms painted the world in hues of pink and white, the family gathered once more in the same warm living room where so many emotions had been laid bare. Anaya, now on the cusp of womanhood, sat in the center, surrounded by those who loved her most. In a soft, trembling voice, she addressed the assembled family. "I have learned so much from each of you about love, about loss, and about the strength of family. I want you all to know that, no matter what the future holds, I will carry these lessons with me always." Her words, filled with quiet determination, brought tears to many eyes, and even Wajdan felt his heart swell with pride and sorrow intertwined. Hea reached out and gently squeezed Wajdan's hand, a silent acknowledgement that everything they had endured had led them to this precious, transformative moment. Mir Hassan's deep, resonant voice then filled the room as he said, "Our family's story is one of resilience and unwavering love. Though we have weathered storms and faced hardships that none should ever endure, We have emerged stronger, bound together by the unbreakable ties of our shared history. In that moment of unity, as memories of the past mingled with the promise of the future, Wajdan realized that the true measure of family was not in the absence of pain, but in the courage to overcome it. Every tear shed, every anguished cry, had contributed to the tapestry of their lives, a tapestry now resplendent with hope and a renewed commitment to protect one another at all costs. That night, as the gentle hum of the house lulled them toward sleep, Wajdan sat quietly by Anaya's bedside. He recalled the long, dark nights filled with uncertainty and the frantic rush to the hospital, and he marveled at how far they had come. "I promise you, my dear," he whispered to the sleeping child, "no matter what challenges arise, I will always be here to shield you from harm and guide you toward a future filled with light and love." The words echoed softly through the silent room, mingling with the whispers of the past and the gentle promise of a new dawn. Outside, the first light of morning began to creep over the horizon, casting a warm glow over the world, a world that, despite its scars, was ready to embrace the beauty of tomorrow. And so, in that humble home filled with laughter, tears, and the enduring spirit of togetherness, a family found its way back from the brink. Their journey had been long and arduous, marked by moments of heartbreak and redemption. Yet, through it all, the unyielding bonds of love had prevailed. For Wajdan, Haya, Mir Hassan, Ghazala, and, most of all, Anaya, the future was now a canvas of endless possibilities, a canvas on which they would paint the colors of hope, courage, and unbreakable unity. As seasons changed and the years unfurled, the legacy of that turbulent period became a cherished chapter in their family history, a testament to the power of truth, the necessity of forgiveness, and the strength that comes from embracing one's destiny, no matter how painful the journey may be. Each gathering, each shared meal, each quiet conversation under starlit skies served as a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, love had the remarkable ability to heal, restore, and transform. Thus, with hearts full of determination and eyes fixed on a brighter future, the family continued to move forward, together. And while the echoes of past sorrows might sometimes resurface in moments of quiet reflection, they were ultimately transformed into the fuel that propelled them toward a tomorrow defined not by the pain of what had been lost, but by the joy of what had been found. May this story stand as a beacon of hope for all who have known loss, for all who have struggled against impossible odds, and for every soul who dares to believe that even in the darkest night, the promise of a new dawn awaits.